perhaps you were born for such a time as this. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Faith and Freedom. I'm Shemaine Nugent. This past week has been heavy. We lost a friend, a leader, and a brother in Christ, and a fearless voice for truth, Charlie Kirk. Many of us have memories with Charlie and moments of laughter and prayer and courage. He was more than just a public figure. He was a disciple, pointing people to Jesus and to the truth. And now the world is honoring him. Millions all over the world are coming to Christ because his legacy is louder than the grave. My first guest knows that legacy well. He's a pastor, author, and faith advisor with Turning Point USA, carrying Charlie's torch through Turning Point Faith, the church-focused arm equipping believers to stand boldly in a culture that desperately needs to hear this truth. Pastor Lucas Miles, welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me, Shemaine. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. And you and I have been in touch over the years, and I am a Turning Point ambassador, and you're part of Turning Point Faith. You work closer to Charlie and worked with him every day. What's one personal memory that captures who he was behind the spotlight?
I'll tell you about my last conversation with Charlie. I got to see him in person about a week before his assassination. We were together at Dream City Church in Phoenix, Arizona, and we were on stage. He opened the event, then handed off to me, and then he jumped on a flight for Asia. He ended up speaking in front of a large crowd in Korea, and then had an opportunity in Japan to be able to share the gospel. He and I had talked about that quite a bit leading up to it. He sent me a message after the fact, and he was just so proud. And he just said, Lucas, he goes, I just got to share the gospel with a just massive number of Japanese leaders. And we just had this huge anticipation for revival taking place. Charlie cared about the gospel. It was the backbone to everything that he did. And I think it really, it just is the accent mark of his entire life.
Did you see a shift in Charlie? I mean, he's always been about faith, but it seems like in the past 5 years, it was a lot of politics and then faith. But recently, it seemed faith was the heavy hand in all of this.
I think that when you look back through Charlie's, videos over the year, I've been on the team here at TPUSA Faith for about a year and a half. And, certainly from day one, I mean, Charlie's intentions were the gospel is first and foremost with me. He really empowered me to be able to go out and reach churches and pastors across this country. But I do think there was an evolution over time where this became, more and more prevalent. At least he became more outspoken about it. I'd heard from, some of our senior team here previously or recently about just some of their memories of that. They had shared that at one of the vigils. And, Charlie he was so personally transformed, I think, by Jesus, by the gospel. It came out in all of his talks. I think more than any sort of a, conservative activist, Charlie was a disciple of Jesus. He was an evangelist, really, as he went around these, campuses, sharing the gospel with anyone who would listen.
I don't know if you know this, but I actually got to debate Charlie, and guess who won? He reached out to me years ago, and you know who my husband is, Lucas is. Everybody knows watching this. And when Charlie reached out to me and invited me to become a Turning Point ambassador, I was like, you want me? What, really? You sure? You sure about that? And he said, yeah, I like your message. I like your audience. And he was really the first person that buoyed me to start doing this Faith and Freedom show. And I don't want to cry because I will. And it's just amazing. It's been an amazing journey. And I want to continue, hopefully. What does the future of Turning Point look like to you? Who's going to take the helm, or is it a group of people? Do you know? Can you share?
Yeah, so obviously, I know there's a lot of questions that everybody has. I will say our whole team is focused this week on giving Charlie the best tribute that we possibly can. everybody, it's kind of all hands on deck leading up to his memorial this weekend. I have a feeling this is going to be the most televised event of all time. It's going to be massively attended here in the Phoenix area. We have people coming in from all over the world to honor or remember our friend Charlie Kirk, who died a Christian martyr. I know people have questions about where does Turning Point go from here, and I hear people say, how can Turning Point exist without Charlie Kirk? And I'll tell you, we're not without Charlie Kirk. His DNA, his fingerprints, the blueprint, which he operated with, has been just interlaced throughout every single team member here at TPUSA and TPUSA Faith. I have no doubt that we are going to pick up that torch, as Erica had shared the other day, that we are going to make sure that Charlie Kirk's name is remembered for as long as we have air in our lungs. And I think that the best days for TPUSA and TPUSA Faith are still ahead. There's a ground surge of activity and revival taking place across this nation. Charlie had really been fighting so hard for this moment to take place, pivotal change in our nation to take place. I think it's starting, but there's still a lot of work to do. And so I encourage people to go to tpusafaith.com or tpusa.com to get involved, to donate. And it's going to take all of us to fill these giant shoes that have been left behind.
You posted a question on social media. Were you satisfied with how your church addressed Charlie's assassination? And I responded, I don't know if you saw my comment. No, not at all. How can the church do better, Lucas?
Well, first off, if anybody wants to see, what I shared on Sunday, they can search Influence Church. I preached a message called The Martyr's Crown and just honored Charlie. It's free of charge, YouTube. You can find it there. There's no I in the front of Influence Church. It starts with a capital N. When we think about pastors and how we should navigate this, can you tell me that the early church wouldn't have talked about the martyrdom of Stephen when he was stoned to death, or the beheading of James? Of course they would have. I've seen pastors say, well, church is about Jesus, and so we chose just to focus on that this Sunday and not mention these sort of events. That's a cop-out. And look, I don't want to force pastors to do anything or say anything. I want them to follow the prompting of the Holy Spirit. But if we have pastors who have continually showed us that they were weak during COVID, weak during the technocratic, regime that was forced upon us, weak when Roe was overturned, weak on trans cult issues, and now they're weak at the martyrdom of Charlie Kirk, what that tells me is that you have a weak pastor. And I think it's time for America to wake up to realize that. And we really need to start defunding these kind of woke and weak churches that are here by no longer giving them our tithe dollars or our attendance, and finding places. There's tons of great churches across this country. I will personally help people through tpusafaith.com, them find a great church near them. And I'll tell you what, it's worth getting your family in a place where the pastor is going to be committed to teaching the full counsel of the Word of God and standing bold for Jesus Christ.
We know what happened with Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and we know how that went. But you're right. I'm probably going to be reaching out to you. But before we go, I want to talk about your brand new book. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I have a new book called Pagan Threat, Confronting America's Godless Uprising. I was very honored to have Charlie write the foreword before his passing. It's a tough week to be talking about a book in the midst of all this, but I will say that, I truly believe that it was this pagan threat that took Charlie's life. He understood it better than anybody. And I think that, this is something that as Americans, we need to wrap our minds around. Right now in 2024, the average 2024-2025, the study came out in 2024, the average pastor in America is 57 years old. That means that a lot of the places where young people are congregating are virtually inaccessible to them. Gaming chat rooms, Discord, forums, X Spaces, TikTok lives, schoolroom cafeterias. It's hard for pastors to reach the younger generation. We have to be more strategic. So I lay out the problems and the historical uprising of this neo-paganism that's happening. People that are being sucked into the occult, to gender ideology, to trans thinking, and all of this that's led up to the moment that we're in right now. It's all driven by a Marxist worldview. So I give a roadmap for how the church can move ahead. I have 7 steps of how the church can go forward. I think this is important, that every single Christian make a commitment to understand where we're at, why this is happening, and ultimately what they can do about it.
Pastor Lucas Miles, thank you so much for joining me. Where can people find you?
Yeah, thanks, Shemaine. They can go to tpusafaith.com is probably the best place right now. If you want to get the book, it's available wherever books are sold. Be aware there are some fraudulent copies that have popped up that is a fake AI version of the book because it's been doing so well. So make sure you're getting the right one if you go to Amazon.
It's unbelievable. We can address AI in another upcoming Faith and Freedom episode. But Pastor Lucas Miles, thank you so much for joining me. You always return my texts. You always return my calls. You always jump on here. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Big fan, Shemaine. Appreciate you as always. Tell your husband hello.
I will. Good. Have a great day. Okay. We're going to switch gears and talk about another patriot, Mike Lindell. Mike wants to thank you, all of the supporters here on Faith and Freedom, everyone who's watching this. His mission is simple. It's just to get you the best night's sleep, which we all need so we can continue to do God's good work. But at My Pillow, they've got dog beds, which our dogs love. They've got towels, which I love. They've got sheets and slippers and so many things. They're Patriot-made products. They're soft, they're absorbent, and they all last. Check out the details and all the deals at mypillow.com. And don't forget, use the promo code FAITH. Get sheets as low as $25. And if your order's over $100, you're going to get $100 back. mypillow.com, promo code is FAITH. Don't go away. Lots more to come.
Relish the opportunity to be an outsider because it's the outsiders who change the world.
Perhaps you were born for such a time as this. Did you know that we all have two ages? It's our actual age. I'm 63. And then our body's internal biological age. But what I didn't know is that I've likely lowered my biological age without even knowing it. Here's the thing. Most Americans eat too much processed food. I don't know about you. Sometimes I do. And we don't eat enough fruits and veggies. And that means a lot of us are 10, sometimes 20 years older than our real age. It's a ticking time bomb. But a major university study says there's a way to diffuse that bomb. People who drank Field of Greens and only Field of Greens slowed their aging. They didn't even have to change their diet or exercise, but I would highly recommend that you do. Every fruit and veggie in Field of Greens is doctor selected for specific benefits. And if you're looking to just feel better and age slower, Field of Greens is where I would recommend you start. Just try the drink, 1 scoop in your water, and it's something that actually works. Check out the study and get 20% off with the code FREEDOM at fieldofgreens.com. That's the code FREEDOM at fieldofgreens.com. My next guest isn't afraid to call out dangerous science experiments from lockdowns to Bill Gates' genetically engineered mosquitoes. Let that sink in. When Africa's military government shut down Gates's project of these bioengineered weapons, and he ordered his bugs destroyed, it sent a message. We have had enough. So my question is, why aren't Western leaders doing the same? Dr. Richard Bartlett joins us and we'll discuss. Hello, Dr. Bartlett. How are you?
Hey, Shemaine. Thank you for what you do, getting the truth out.
Well, thank you for being here. And you always answer my calls. You always answer my texts. So thank you. I appreciate that.
There's a lot in the news right now. Tomorrow, the ACIP committee is going to meet and talk about the hepatitis B shot that newborns are given, the hepatitis B vaccine. And they're also going to talk about the MMRV, the chickenpox vaccine. And then Friday, they're going to talk exclusively about the COVID shot. Bill Gates is in the middle of so many things going on around the world, including vaccines. And I just want to remind everyone that he has never gone to med school, nursing school, pharmacy school. He's not a therapist. He's not licensed. He's never seen a patient. Why are we letting him manipulate healthcare and our children's future, including releasing mosquitoes that are grown in factories in Bangladesh, in Florida, in Texas, in California? Well, there's a nation in Africa that said no more. They said, we're not going to let these genetically modified insects be released in our nation without any long-term safety data. Our people will no longer be guinea pigs. And you're right. We need to do that same kind of thing in the United States, the land of the free, the home of the brave. We need to stand up against Bill Gates and his evil supervillain activity.
Absolutely right. You know what worries me, and I am hoping and praying that there's a plan. But why was Bill Gates at the White House sitting next to Melania when they were talking about such really important things? You're right. How is it that he's in charge of our health or has any say over these mosquitoes? Like, I didn't sign up for that. I don't want my tax dollars going for that. Sorry if I'm getting emotional, because it's an emotional time, and we have got to start, you're right, standing up when we see something, say something, and this is just flat out wrong.
Yeah, so genetically modified mosquitoes grown by the billions in a factory and then released on the heads of people in Key West, Florida, and on the coast of Texas, and the coast of California. What could go wrong? Mosquito-borne illnesses, that's a vector. Mosquitoes are a vector that can carry diseases like West Nile disease, like malaria, there's a long list of mosquito-borne illnesses. This is crazy that we would allow him to do this. We saw what he did with COVID, where on national TV, he said the COVID shot was the best investment I ever made, quote unquote. And we see how that turned out. That Friday, the whole world's going to hear information from ACIP when they talk about the COVID shots, which are not vaccines, according to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. That was a misnomer. That was misrepresentation. And Bill Gates was at the front end as a spokesman, salesman, doing marketing for the COVID shots.
Well, you and I know, this is, I'm just going to say BS. This isn't right. This is not what we want as Americans. We want this shows faith and freedom. We want the freedom. We want healthcare freedom too, to make our own choices, whether it's the hepatitis B vaccine or COVID vaccine. You and I, Richard, have eyes to see, but not everybody does. What would you recommend to people who you probably know people that say, oh yeah, the COVID shot, that was good. I'm glad I got it. How do we move forward knowing that there are still loved ones, people in our family circle that don't get it?
So we see less than 20% of the Americans are still lining up for the COVID boosters. That means 80% of the Americans, whether they got the COVID shots before or not, have all figured this out. 80% have figured this out with the COVID shots. Aaron Siri just wrote a book called Vaccines, Amen, The Religion of Vaccines, and it has A to Z about vaccines. So people can buy that on Amazon. They can get the audiobook, the ebook. Vaccines, Amen by Aaron Siri, Siri, will be the definitive book on everything vaccines. So if people want the facts, the stats, the ingredients, the contraindications, it's all going to be in Vaccines, Amen by Aaron Siri. And so that's if you want to be armed for an argument, you want the facts and you want the science, that's where you can get it in a published form. But the bottom line is we've learned a lot. We saw in the Senate hearing with Senator Ron Johnson on September 9th, that they talked about the COVID vaccines. They had a COVID vaccine expert that was pushing the vaccines. And he was asked by Senator Johnson, and in about a 4.5-minute exchange, Senator Johnson said, do you believe that the COVID shots stay in the arm where the shot is administered? And this pro-COVID shot, co-vaccine expert, Dr. Scott from Stanford University, an infectious disease doctor, said, yeah, it just stays in the arm. And then Senator Johnson said, no, it doesn't, and read the science to him, that this was designed by the manufacturers to go throughout the whole body and has still stayed in people's bodies for years after the initial shot. And this doctor was asked, does it stay in the arm? Is it natural RNA, or is it and does it just break down within hours like we were told initially? And this doctor to his embarrassment, did not know any of this information. He did not know it was a vaccine that actually turns your body into spike protein factories where your cells are hijacked and indefinitely make spike protein. He did not know that the COVID shots are adulterated with contaminants of DNA plasmids. DNA plasmids are by design made to put DNA code into the host cells. That means it can actually put that DNA code, our abnormal DNA code, into your DNA, into your body, but also into your sperm or eggs, and pass on to your descendants. So this is an atrocity. This is the expert that they had speaking to the Senate, promoting COVID shots, and he was embarrassed. It was like his pants were pulled down in front of the whole world, showing that he knew nothing about vaccines.
It's unbelievable that these are so-called leaders in science and health. But I want to get back to these mosquitoes. Somebody had said in the past, many people have, follow the money. Where is the money coming from to fund this type of manipulation? You know, I would like to live in a world where, let's say, you know, there are chemtrails, but they're healthy chemtrails. And let's say there's an area where, you know, everybody's coming down with some type of a natural flu or virus. So the chemtrails would actually disperse vitamin C. Wouldn't that be great? Rather than this nefarious, manipulative, evil plan of sending out mosquitoes that are designed to kill us.
So in 2015, they released these genetically modified mosquitoes in Bangladesh. And 4 months later, they had their largest outbreak of dengue fever, a mosquito-borne illness. Everywhere that they have released these mosquitoes, whether it's in on the coasts of Florida and Texas, or whether it's Bangladesh, or it's in Puerto Rico, you see a spike of mosquito-borne illnesses following about 3 months later. It's a disaster. It's diabolical. It seems like something that you would see in a James Bond movie where they're trying to wipe out people. And yet the money comes from the United States taxpayer. Our taxpayer dollars are going through the Department of Defense on many of these experiments.
I didn't sign, Dr. Richard Bartlett. I don't know about you, but I didn't sign up for that. Unfortunately, we have to leave it here. I hope you can come back, and we're going to get more into all of these manipulative and nefarious and evil things that some governments are trying to push on their citizens. Dr. Richard Bartlett, how can people find you real quick? Are you on social media?
Well, you know, if they go to budesonideworks.com, there's a lot of information there. And I, on purpose, am on other people's platforms because they've tried to shut me down when I was trying to save lives during COVID. And this works for me.
Well, thank you so much for being here. You're always answering my texts and calls. I appreciate it. God bless you. Don't go away, everyone. We'll be right back.
Relish the opportunity to be an outsider, because it's the outsiders who change the world.
Perhaps you were born for such a time as this. All right. If you have dogs, you got to listen up. Ted and I have some super exciting news. And if you know us, you know we love our dogs. I say we have a very unhealthy attachment, but we want them to live for as long as they can. And we've been searching for clean, effective supplements and couldn't find any, so we decided to start our own. Uncle Ted's Natural Canine Supplements are powered by bioflavonoids that are plant-based and boost your dog's energy and help them stay sharp and strong and healthy. We use them on our dogs daily, and our dogs love them. They told us so. Go to getuncleteds.com to find out more. Okay, we've talked about Charlie Kirk's legacy with Turning Point. And as a Turning Point ambassador, I feel so grateful to be a part of this mission. But his vision didn't stop there. Charlie believed that the church must be equipped to lead this nation back to the truth. That's why he helped launch the Faith Council, a movement that is uniting pastors and believers to stand together in this spiritual battle. Our next guest has been on the front lines of that work, Pastor Jackson Lahmeyer. Pastor Lahmeyer, welcome.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on. It's always a good time.
Well, it's unfortunate that we have to talk about this, about Charlie's passing. The world is watching how we move forward, what Charlie's legacy is going to be. And I know for one, it's not stopping. It has grown exponentially. Millions are coming to Christ, which is good. I had a friend say to me, she was so angry and she didn't know what to do with the anger. And she wanted to learn more about Jesus. And she's like, I feel like I need to read the Bible, but I don't even know where to start. What do you tell people who want to learn more about Jesus and want to follow through with Charlie's passion and purpose and mission?
Yeah, that's so good. America lost a legend and the body of Christ. We lost an ambassador to an entire generation. I called Charlie the youth pastor of America. And he just did such incredible work. And, a wife lost a husband, 2 children. They lost a father. And many of us, we lost a friend. But Charlie Kirk gained his eternal reward. He heard those words, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." And Charlie is more alive today than he ever was before. And so we rejoice for him, but obviously we mourn for his family, for the Turning Point USA family, and we're here. So what do we do now? How shall we live in the aftermath of this? And what we have to do is we've got to pick up that baton and run. And so many people, like your friend, came to my church this Sunday. It was standing room only. There was a line to get into the auditorium. The auditorium was full 20 minutes before the service even started. And so people are hungry right now. And we have to have voices that will lead them to truth, not vengeance, not hate, not violence, but the truth of not turning from God, but turning to God. And so I would just encourage people, they're like, I'm a conservative and I believe in God, but I really don't have a relationship with God. Well, it's pretty simple. You just begin talking to God. He hears you. He listens. I would encourage you to get a Bible and just begin to read. Or if you don't like to read, listen to the Bible. Start with the Gospel of John, but be sure to get plugged in to a good Bible church because that's where you're going to grow. That's where you're going to flourish. And so Charlie would want each of us attending church, reading and listening to our Bibles, and just declaring the truth and growing closer to God. And I think that's the best way that we can honor him.
I believe that this is spiritual warfare and that they're coming after our young people. And that's why they targeted Charlie. But there is, and I just got goosebumps, there is a great awakening happening. And what Erica Kirk said, you have no idea what you just did.
Yes.
It's exciting in a way. I don't mean to smile talking about someone's passing, but I can only imagine that this is exactly what Charlie would have wanted, don't you think?
Well, I can promise you, Charlie right now is smiling. He's in that great cloud of witnesses cheering us on, and he knows what's just been unleashed. There's a verse in the Bible that what you just said reminds me of. It says, when the enemy comes in like a flood, God raises up a standard. And sometimes we put the comma in the wrong place. It is when the enemy comes in, comma, like a flood, God raises up a standard. And so the enemy came in and attacked Charlie Kirk. But like a flood, God is unleashing a movement that is impacting not just young people. Charlie's primary ministry was to people who were college-age students and younger. But people who are in their 60s and 70s, even their 80s, are being touched right now because of Charlie Kirk's life and legacy. And so the enemy overplayed his hand. This is a spiritual battle between good and evil. This is not just Republicans and Democrats. This is a spiritual battle. It's played out in politics. And Charlie Kirk was not just assassinated because of freedom of speech or the First Amendment. This was an attack on the institution of the church because Charlie was growing the kingdom of God. He was plundering hell and populating heaven. And so we got to continue doing that.
I have heard, I have not seen, but I have heard all about the negativity and the people that are laughing and trying to make fun of this I won't allow myself, as soon as it pops up, if I'm scrolling through any social media, I just keep scrolling. But I know what's going on. And the thing that runs through my mind, I'd love to get your take on this as a pastor, is I think of Jesus saying, "Forgive them, Father, they know not what they do." How can people who are followers of Charlie and his Turning Point USA, how do we move forward with all this anger surrounding his death?
Such a great question. And to your point, when Jesus said, Father, forgive them, they don't know what they're doing. The first martyr of the church was a man named Stephen. And Stephen was being stoned by religious people who were angry at him. And he prayed that exact same prayer: Father, forgive them, they don't know what they're doing. And there was an onlooker, a guy that was approving of the killing and helping organize it. His name was Saul of Tarsus. And he was full of hate and anger towards Christians. And yet he saw this man named Stephen lose his life for the gospel. And it was very shortly on a road to Damascus that Saul of Tarsus was transformed into Paul the Apostle. And so we have to realize that, yes, there may be some people full of hate and anger, mocking what happened to Charlie Kirk, but God can do the same thing to them as what he did to Saul of Tarsus 2,000 years ago and bring out a great apostle. And I know Charlie's heart would have been, forgive them. They have no idea what they're doing. And so we have to walk in forgiveness. We have to walk in love. Doesn't mean that we're pushovers, that we get walked on or anything like that. But vengeance is not ours. We don't need vigilante justice or anything like that. We have to do what Charlie did. I mean, what would Charlie do? He would go into hostile territory. He would let them speak, express their ideas, even if they were crazy ideas. And then, in a gentle manner, Charlie would dismantle the idea through words. And he was so effective at it. People say he was full of hate speech. And Charlie wasn't full of hate speech. They just hated his speech. And so we have to copy the manner of how Charlie literally evangelized a generation that all of us were told was going to be a lost generation. I'm sure you remember experts saying, this is a lost generation. And God said, not yet. Here's Charlie Kirk, who's going to reach this generation. So we've got to continue carrying that baton.
I love that. And you're so right. It's really ringing true for so many people. We see it. It's evident. Like you can feel this spiritual awakening. And I'm so grateful that people like you are speaking out, because, I only have a minute left, but I want to address, why aren't some pastors? I went to church this past Sunday, and our pastor didn't barely address it. And what he did say was, I didn't agree with everything Charlie said. And I thought, I was not happy with that response. Why aren't our pastors stepping up?
Well, it's the same problem we had in 2020. There's a lack of courage. There's a lack of boldness. It's fear of losing members, which would equate to losing dollars. And that's a real fear that a lot of pastors have. But this is not a time for cowardly leadership. We need bold leaders who will proclaim the truth. We have to do it in a gentle manner. We cannot be harsh and mean or anything like that. But we do need boldness. And I would just encourage pastors. That was one of the things Charlie was great at. Charlie could go into a room of pastors and literally spark courage on the inside of them. And so we need courageous leadership in this hour. And hopefully this will be a turning point, not just in America, but a turning point within the church in the United States of America.
I think it is. It has been, and it's showing that. In our last seconds, tell me your favorite Bible verse.
Romans 8:28. We know that God makes all things, and all things include even the bad things, work together for our good because we love him and we've been called according to his purpose.
I love that. Mine changes. I end this show with Esther 4:14, which is relevant right now. If you remain silent, relief and deliverance is going to come from someplace else.
Yes.
Who knows if you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this? I think that's really relevant, don't you?
So good. It is so good. If these pastors don't speak up, God will raise up somebody else.
That's right. That's right. Pastor Lahmeyer, thank you so much for joining me. Where can people find you?
At my website, jacksonlahmeyer.com, Lahmeyer.
and spelled J-A-C-K, not J-A-X-O-N like my dog.
Nope, J-A-C-K.
J-A-C-K. Thank you so much for joining me. God bless you.
Thank you. Likewise.
Okay, we've got one more segment coming up. You're not going to want to miss it. Stay tuned.
Relish the opportunity to be an outsider because it's the outsiders who change the world.
Perhaps you were born for such a time as this. Okay, we are out for our daily
Celebrating the great spirit of the wild outdoors.
A lot of people realize that we are hunters. We love to hunt and we love to
Venison.
have pure, lean venison. We're not always successful. So what do we do, Ted?
Switch to America with Shemaine beef.
We're going to actually go home and have a ribeye right now. We pulled it out to thaw, and I'm super excited because we've both been out hunting. It's tough. It's not like you can go, okay, God, cue the deer.
I think I got 29 days in a row that the deer have avoided me. I don't know why that is, but we have switched to America with Shemaine beef to compensate for the days that the deer don't show up. Get the best, healthiest, natural beef in the world. I swear we believe in this stuff, and what goes into the sacred temple determines your quality of life and health. And quality beef, like Switch to America with Shemaine beef, is the best you can eat.
Now, Jackson's way up there. We got to go catch him. Joining me now is my friend and the project manager of Switch to America with Shemaine.com, Tricia Rodriguez. Tricia, welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. How are you today?
I'm good. And I wanted to, you and I we planned on talking about Charlie's memorial, which I still want to, but I want to bring this up because it's so important. As much as I am faith-filled, you got to be healthy. There are some things that we need to take into our own hands. No one's coming to save us. So if we can't, if we're not hunters, we got to go to Switch to America with Shemaine and get that clean, grass-fed beef straight from the source. And a lot of people don't realize this. I wanted you to explain it. They can get it they can join for $1 a month. And I don't understand why anybody would want to go buy meat at the store when they can get it delivered to their home. I mean, you got Amazon, right? And you get stuff delivered. Why not get your beef delivered?
Why not get your beef delivered? That's correct. So it actually, Shemaine, it's $1 for the year that you can become a member, and I can talk to you about the mission. You're supporting USA. You're getting clean, grass-fed beef, toxin-free products. It's an amazing mission too, because while you're supporting USA, and no better time than right now, you're supporting those American families. You know, you're putting food on the table for the American family. Sally's getting her ballet lessons, for example. I mean, Switch to America with Shemaine is an extremely noble mission, and it's all about USA. And in light of what is happening in our country right now, I don't know about you, but I've gone into such deep reflection about my choices. Am I making wise choices? You know, the world needs us right now. The world needs you. We need to step up for our country. We need to make better decisions. We need to do this now more than ever. Critical thinking, for example. You know, we need to talk to our kids, fight for our youth. I think Charlie Kirk has really just ignited a fire in so many people. You know, one seed has died and 1 million seeds have been born. So yes, and this is a great way to do this within your own community with Switch to America with Shemaine.com. And I'm happy to get on the phone and talk to you about it. You can get your beef clean. You know, don't be the blind consumer buying your beef at Walmart and getting E. coli. Let's keep our family safe and healthy. But Shemaine, I don't know where your feeling is right now, but the whole Charlie Kirk thing has really sent me into a much deeper reflection of things, of choices, and you know what we're doing in general with what we're consuming and every choice that we make. Are you feeling the same way?
Oh yeah, every single choice that we make. And I know I just want to touch on this. I have a few minutes left, but I know you were at his memorial. Tell us about that and what stood out for you.
You know, what stood out for me is the fact that I got to go there with my daughter. You know, these kids really, they are very smart. She's in the 7th grade and she knew what was going on through her friends. And I said, you know what, we're going to go to the memorial. And what I witnessed was a very somber, peaceful event, people sitting on the curb crying. We got to write our own message to Charlie Kirk's family. We need to really talk to our kids. I'm telling you right now, and critical thinking is so important because they're seeing a lot of things. But yeah, it's like I feel like I lost a friend. Like this guy has been in my backyard doing the best work. The last thing I heard him say on one of his interviews was, of course, I want to make the greatest, highest impact ever. And boy, has he done that. You know, so it was important to me that I take my daughter to show her this was an amazing man. You know, they didn't talk about him at her school, Shemaine, and it really bugs me. So I actually went to Turning Point USA. I'd like to start a chapter at her school. So I thought, okay,
There you go.
Yes, and I'd like to talk to you.
That's a great idea.
I'm like, you know what? Middle school kids need this. She wasn't sure what to think or what to make of this. And she actually had opinions on a certain video. And we talked about that. But I thought, you know what? These middle school kids need critical thinking now, not later. And yeah, so it has really ignited a fire in me. And so the whole Switch to America with Shemaine, you know, getting back to that, you can join for $1, you can become involved. And I just think that we need to pick up the torch. We need to run with it now more than ever in all possible ways. So I'm trying to do my best, and the world needs you. I think that's what is my message today. The world needs us right now more than ever, right?
You know, we end the show with Esther 4:14. If you remain silent, Trisha, we can't remain silent. Silence is not an option right now.
No.
What Charlie's assassination, let's just call it that, his murder represented is for us, for good men. If good men sit down and do nothing, then evil wins. And so for you to take your daughter, God bless you. Thank you for doing that. And why not start a middle school chapter of Turning Point? Let's do that. I'll check in. I'm a Turning Point ambassador. I think I'm the oldest one, Trisha. I have to be.
I'm right behind you, honey. I'm right there with you. And listen, if we can talk about that, because I'm so serious. I was talking to my husband. I said, you know, critical thinking is really at risk right now. And these kids don't know what to think. I spoke to a 20-year-old girl this morning and she said, I'm just traumatized and stunned. I don't know what to think. And then she also said, you know, I also don't need to see this public execution played out 25 million
over and over.
Yes. She said, it has traumatized me. I don't even want to get on TikTok. I mean, we need to talk to our youth. We need to fight for them.
Well, I would like to see a moment in time, whether it's a day where all young people, everyone puts down their phone. Let's stop with the social media. You know, when you watch TV, you watch a program and then the program ends. With social media, how many times do you get on social media and an hour has gone by? Maybe 2. What a waste of time. And we've got to get back to the art of communicating and talking with one another and booing other and being there for our children and supporting them and just talking. And how was your day? Not waiting for a good or whatever, but really having that conversation. Trisha, you know, I love you. Thank you so much for being here. How do people find out more about you?
Oh, you know what? They'll find out about me through you. Just go to switchtoamericawithshemaine.com. You want to know why? I get on the phone and I talk to them. I say,
there you go.
Call
Trisha right now. Call Trisha when we get done with this show. Give her a call and tell her how much you love her.
I love it. I love you. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for joining me again. This has been a heavy show. And I actually got criticized. Somebody emailed me and said, I can't believe you didn't even talk about Charlie's passing last week. Well, we film our show on a Wednesday. So a lot happens between Wednesday and Sunday. But I'm right there. It's been very traumatic. You know, you gotta laugh once in a while. You gotta smile. Send me your funny pet videos. Make sure they're funny, not funny pet videos at shemaine.chat@gmail.com. I appreciate each and every one of you for watching and sharing this show. Remember Esther 4:14. Perhaps you were born for such a time as this. Not perhaps. You and I are here for this time. And as I mentioned earlier, silence right now isn't an option. We need to speak out. We need to be strong in our faith. And if you're interested, I just closed a deal, so to speak, with Pastor Anthony. Of course, Pastor Anthony Thomas comes on my show whenever I ask him to, but I'm going to do an entire show just with Pastor Anthony, and we're going to get into the Bible. We're going to do a Bible study show once a month. Let me know if you like that. Send me an email at shemaine.chat@gmail.com. Check out my books, Abundantly Well and Killer House, both available on Amazon. And also my website is shemainenugent.rocks, ROCKS, shemainenugent.rocks. I've got a lot of new things coming up, and including a newsletter. So if you go there in the next week or so, you might get a pop-up saying, hey, join my newsletter, and you'll be updated on all my guests right here on Faith and Freedom and so much more. Thank you all so much for watching. God bless you. Remember Esther 4:14, you were born for this time. I'll see you next week.
Relish the opportunity to be an outsider, because it's the outsiders who change the world.
Perhaps you were born for such a time as this.